Good evening everyone and welcome to an Aussie Cyclone Chasers Cyclone video update tonight, the 10th of March 2014. My name's Chris Nitzo and tonight we'll be talking about Tropical Cyclone Hadi, Tropical Cyclone Gillian, the new cyclone that's just formed, Tropical Cyclone Lucy, and we'll also be talking about any potential cyclone threats over the next couple of weeks that could happen again over Queensland or WA in the longer term. And also, before we do that, I would like to say welcome to our 3,000 or 4,000 new followers in the past couple of days. We are up to 96,000 in our social media following, which is a fantastic achievement from us, but also a huge thank you to you guys for your support. We've also seen a fairly sudden increase in our viewership of the videos, so we're hoping that the new people particularly, as well as our regulars, find these continuing to be handy updates for your knowledge and for your future preparedness for these things. Also to our website followers at ozcyclonechasers.com.au who don't have social media, we welcome you too. We've seen a big spike in our numbers on our website. In fact, it may be time for us to purchase a little bit of extra bandwidth because we might be running out for this month. That's how many people we're seeing. We're seeing somewhere between 20 and 30,000 hits on our website every day for the past couple of days. So it's been a pretty phenomenal increase. So welcome to everyone, and let's get on with tonight's update. Cyclone Gillian has been downgraded, I'll try that again, to a tropical low this afternoon. Now, it has been under constant wind shear, and there's been multiple centres analysed on radar. So we had a centre that crossed the coast at Cape Kiwi, we had a centre that stayed off the coast, we had a centre further south, closer to Pomperau. We had multiple centres or multiple vortices of this particular tropical cyclone, so it's no surprise that it has been downgraded to a tropical low. Wind shear will decrease in the future. It is no longer expected to become a severe system, but it is at most modelling expected to make Category 2 status before hitting the coast again in the Northern Territory side of the NT Queensland border of the Gulf country. That means fairly heavy rain to the east of the system, fairly strong winds in and around the system, but fairly large gale radius as well. You can see here this is a scale 300 kilometres here, so we're looking at a gale radius of about 300 or 400 kilometres, so there is a fair chance there that you're going to experience some very strong winds even if you're a fair way away from the eye of this thing. So initially it starts fairly small, but then does grow in terms of its diameter as it approaches the coastline. So you can see here by the time it's a Category 1 on impact near Port MacArthur or Borroloola, we're starting to see a fairly large gale radius there. As I said though, there has been multiple centres analysed on radar, multiple centres analysed through satellite, and it is no surprise that the system is a low. Cyclone Hadi continues to struggle against vertical wind shear. There is an expected lax of that early tomorrow morning or overnight tonight in the diurnal maximum. So what happens with cyclones is they tend to intensify a little bit overnight over water, because that is the time where we see maximal thunderstorm development around that 3 to sort of 7 a.m. period. So right around 4 a.m. the Bureau expects to be upgrading the system to a 2, and then once the normal trend in climatology is that cyclones tend to weaken in the afternoon, around about 12 hours after the time they strengthen. So we see, particularly so for weak ones, once they're really strong it doesn't matter, but for weak ones we do see that big diurnal trend of intensification and then weakening. The system is almost unanimously expected to move towards the northeast or east over the next 24 hours, and then pretty well east-northeast after that. And there's very unanimous guidance there. As hard as this thing has been to model so far, from now on the models are very much on board with the expected movement here shown by the Bureau of Meteorology. We're looking at a massive movement here in the last in that 24-hour period between March the 12th to 13th. It's really getting its scooter on there, 30, 40, maybe even 50 kilometres an hour out to the east-northeast. So it's expected to move very rapidly under fairly unanimous guidance from the surface to 300 hectopascals, pushing it that way. So really, folks, there's not much chance of it pushing straight back towards the coast. Now, in the longer term, we'll have a chat about that at the end, but in the longer term, some of the guidance is getting confused as to whether this remains around the dateline or whether a new system develops around the dateline, starts pushing west towards the Coral Sea. We'll talk about that at the end, but suffice to say that Hadi is not coming back anytime soon, if he comes back at all. A lot of folks are worrying about this one. This one is the one out in Vanuatu, and it is not coming towards Queensland. I'm pretty sure I stated that last night, but some people that didn't watch our video didn't get that. So, once again, hopefully they'll watch tonight's video. It is not, can I repeat, not coming towards Queensland in any way, shape or form. Not even its dregs will come towards Queensland. Look, this one is expected to become a severe system on a lot of the guidance that we're seeing. So, Category 3 at a minimum on most of the guidance. There is a chance there at even further intensification closer to a 4, but at this point in time we're looking at a severe system, look, likely to not impact the more populated areas of Fiji, so that's another good sign for this one. Looks like it's going to sort of pass right in the middle of a bunch of islands there, so right in the middle between a bunch of islands, so look, hopefully it's going to have minimal human impacts as it tracks southwards. Once it transitions to an extratropical cyclone, it's expected to push southwards and then transition into an extratropical cyclone as it heads towards New Zealand. Now, when it does that, New Zealand, the North Island particularly, could be in line for some very strong winds, very heavy rain with this particular system. So even though it won't be a tropical cyclone by then, they don't last that far, but the extratropical cyclone that it will become could pose a fairly decent threat there to some property and certainly will cause disruptions on the North Island at this point in time, around about day 5. But so far, guys and girls, this one is not expected to affect anywhere near Australia, even Norfolk Island here, not expected to affect Norfolk Island, and is expected to continue moving south towards New Zealand. So that's all she wrote. We won't be covering Lucy anymore. If you'd like to cover Lucy yourselves, www.met.gov.fj is the Fiji Meteorology, Fiji Bureau of Meteorology. They will cover it ad nauseum over the next 3 days or so while it's in their region, and then obviously once it gets into New Zealand you could use the New Zealand Met Office for more details on that. So folks, that is a wrap up on the 3 tropical systems at this point in time. Look, the only one that's likely to pose a threat to any landmass at all is the tropical cyclone Gillian, or ex-tropical cyclone Gillian, once it redevelops. This one here is, as I said, unlikely to pose much of a threat to any of the major islands, but it might cause a lot of rain over the next couple of days while it remains slow moving around the western Fiji region and Vanuatu region. So looking at the monsoon and the cloud around Australia, we can see, thanks to Weather Zone, that we are still in monsoon break conditions over the west, although we're seeing some really nice thunderstorms developing in the Pilbara and even the Gascoyne region of WA. We saw some really nice photos today from Perth Weather Live of some excellent thunderstorm activity here just off Port Hedland. Also just near the coast here of the Kimberley, we're seeing some really good storm development. Also near Darwin, we saw some good pictures of some decent storms around there, right on the western top end, northern top end coast. You can see here Gillian, or ex-Gillian, really struggling to get itself going, tends to be sheared away, much like Hadi. If we look at Hadi, in fact Hadi is looking a lot better than Gillian right now, but we can still see that all this massive cloud down here is actually well south of where the low is itself, and you can actually see the best looking system of them all is Tropical Cyclone Lucy out here. We can see the monsoon tying these 2 systems together, or tying these 3 systems together, although in between we're seeing fairly dry conditions, and that's due to subsidence. That happens on the outskirts of tropical cyclones. We tend to get fairly stable conditions, and that's what the northern Queensland region is experiencing right now, fairly stable conditions. Taking a look at some microwave imagery of our systems here, you can see Hadi really on microwave satellite is looking terrible. Sorry, this is Gillian. I keep mixing them up now, there's so many of them. Gillian's looking terrible. Hadi's looking slightly better. There is a little bit of curved banding available there on microwave imagery to show that Hadi is in fact a cyclone, but Gillian is really not showing good signs at all of being a cyclone. We can see in the latest visible imagery that, in fact, where the actual low-level circulation centre is, we're not actually seeing the heaviest convection. We're seeing some very good convection out here in the northern section, and we're seeing some really nice convection bubbling up here south of the centre, but really over the top of the centre, not much convection at all. So once again, it's got a long way to go if it wants to become a cyclone again. And look, it is expected to become a cyclone again. The satellite-derived wind estimates from 4 p.m. today suggest that Gillian, or ex-Gillian, is now well and truly over land. The Bureau of Meteorology keep it just offshore, but as I say, it has multiple vortices. It actually has multiple centres, and so because of that is one of the big reasons why it's struggling to get itself going. But the JTWC have analysed the centre now well and truly inland and have pushed 20 to 30 knot winds to its north, but not much to its south. That's always the case with this system. Remember that Hadi is operating to the southeast of Gillian, and therefore Hadi is cutting off a lot of the southeasterly flow. See, normally with a cyclone that's located in this area, the area between Cooktown and Cairns is really getting raked by an amazing amount of rainfall right now. That's not happening, and the reason that's not happening is because Hadi is just sitting offshore and disrupting that southeasterly flow. And so what we're getting as we head further towards Cairns is we're getting these really light southerly winds, and those southerly winds are not conducive to creating any sort of rainfall for that region. Here's just a better look at Hadi, and you can see here the spiral banding coming into the low-level circulation centre located just to the northeast of the actual deep convection. So this is the deep convection. That's really, really heavy thunderstorm activity, folks. That's the sort of stuff that you're getting 1 to 300 millimetres in sort of 6 hours sort of stuff there. Now you can see here we've got some banding coming in as well into the system, but this is the low-level circulation centre. Okay, so firstly, where's Gillian going? Well, Gillian is expected to move by the UK Met directly west, which is a little unusual, but this is the UK Met's ensemble, and it's suggesting an almost direct west movement, and also suggesting in most of its members that Gillian doesn't really develop much. So at the end of 5 days, there's only 2, 4, 5, 6 members that keep it as an alive system. But even if we look at its track to 2 days, we can see that expected overall just to push directly west, which means that the UK Met is analysing this as a fairly weakish system and basically being steered simply by the low-level flow straight out here to the west. Oh, the Canadian model. Well, who knows what the Canadian model's doing? It's confusing itself. So that's as much as we really need to say about that. Just look at it. It's just all over the shop. I don't even know why we look at it sometimes. The GFS is in very tight agreement with the Bureau of Meteorology track, just pushing it a little bit east of where the Bureau thinks it's going to go. But overall, very tight agreement here. There are a couple of ensemble members that just shift it inland into the North Peninsula and weaken it, but overall most of the model guidance pushing it southwards or southwestwards and into the Gulf of Carpentaria. Interestingly, later on, some of the forecast period, in the forecast period I should say, some of the guidance pushes it back out here to the northwest. If we take it out to, that was the UK Met I showed you again. If we take it out to 5 days, we can see that by the day 4 and 5, we do start to see that bit more of a northwesterly trend in its movement out here back in towards NT. So it could make a landfall here, and then some of the guidance is suggesting possibly another landfall. Not out of the realms of possibility, but it's not something that is normal anyway. We also have a couple here of the members pushing it out into the Coral Sea. See folks, the reason Gulf systems are very difficult is because oftentimes the steering influences that we see over the Coral Sea or the Southeast Indian Ocean don't impact a lot of the Gulf systems. The Gulf systems tend to be stuck in between a ridge that wants to push them in that direction and a trough that wants to push them in that direction, and a lot of the time those troughs develop right in here. And so what happens is it teeters on the borderline between a ridge and a trough, and also you've got acting on it out here are the monsoonal northwesterlies. So really it's a bit of a schmozzle here because it's such a light steering environment a lot of the year, and so it doesn't want to go either way. So a lot of the time the guidance gets confused as to which one ends up steering it. Will it be the monsoonal westerlies? Will it be a trough? Will it be a ridge? And that's why you get this variability in the guidance. For those interested in Lucy, we can see here Lucy's going to push to the east-southeast or southeast and then south. Pretty clear guidance there, very little variability in the guidance. I mean, even though it's moving so quickly, we're really looking at only about 600 or 700 kilometre variance at 5 days, so that's pretty good in terms of where it could be. But even that doesn't compare to how good a guidance we have with Hadi. Look at this. Look at how tight the model members are out to day 5. It's almost you could almost call this a done deal. Hadi is gone out here to the east-northeast, out towards the Solomons and then into Fiji region. But by the end of that day 5 period, some of the guidance no longer has it as a recognised low-level circulation centre system. So it may peter out before doing that. And the UK Met model, which has been the best with this system so far, and you can see probably a bit more of a northerly solution here in the UK Met because it keeps it a little bit weaker than the other model guidance. But really overall the system continues to push in that northeasterly direction all the way out here into the Solomons and into Fiji, and really no signs at day 5 of it coming back. But we'll talk about the future now. Oh, before I do, even the CMC, despite the amount of rubbish I just gave it, is predicting something fairly similar too. So even the CMC is suggesting that Hadi is no chance of return. Don't worry about this. The CMC throws out some silly scenarios sometimes, so don't worry about the one coming back in towards the coast. That's not going to happen. And the European, same deal, northeast all the way through, back out into towards Fiji of this particular system. There are some outliers here suggesting a more northerly direction, but overall those outliers weaken the system out very, very rapidly, so none of those are still active at the end of 5 days. It's just a very, very weak low if it does this. Overall, if it remains some structure and if it gets into Cat 1 or 2 levels like it is now, it'll just do what it's expected to do. Well, that's all a bit boring and predictable, so let's have a look now as we head towards the later part of the forecast of the ensemble guidances, and that's when things get a little bit more interesting. So this is now around about day 8 on the forecast guidance, so on the 18th, so we're looking at 8 days ahead. We could be seeing the remnants of a tropical low or tropical cyclone Gillian out here, could actually extend all the way out to this region, out here in the Arafura Sea or the Southeast Timor Sea, and so therefore we could be seeing at the potential of a redevelopment of ex-tropical cyclone Gillian, a second or third redevelopment of it out here in that region by day 8. Also by day 8, notice that we're starting to see lower pressures out here in the Fijian region, so keep an eye on that as we head to days 9 and 10. So, this is day 9. Day 9 we can start to see some outliers suggesting lower pressure here over Vanuatu now. And also by day 9 we're starting to see outliers suggesting lower pressure here from ex-cyclone Gillian as she pushes to the west, well off the Kimberley coast. And then as we head to day 10, we really see that guidance suggesting a much lower pressure in this area, possibly a tropical cyclone in the Vanuatu region. Now, we're not quite sure whether this could be whatever remains of Hadi, or this could be a new low. At this stage, I would hazard a guess that this will be a new low, because we're still talking 8 to 10 days away. So that's a long time for Hadi to remain a circulation, considering a lot of the guidance doesn't have her surviving past day 5. So this could be a whole new system, and pushing westwards across Vanuatu at the time. You can see here fairly strong ridge at the surface, and that strong ridge should remain in place. And the other thing that we can tell from the guidance is there's unlikely to be an upper trough at the time as well, but upper level systems aren't modelled very well out to anywhere past about day 6, so we can't really show you that with any confidence. Also over the Kimberley and Pilbara we're seeing that tropical low or tropical cyclone or ex-Gillian. At this stage it looks more like it's going to be ex-Gillian out here than a new low, but we might just wait and see for that one. But assuming that it is ex-Gillian, she's likely to be located anywhere out here. So we've got a lot of variation in where she could be located. At this stage, none of the guidance suggesting she's on the coast. She's on the coast, yeah. So at this stage, possibility of a cyclone developing out here. The GFS ensemble out to day 8, we can see that it keeps the remnants of ex-Gillian in here and possibly forms it into something more significant. We have potential lows out here and out here, but overall the guidance not too specific. As we head to day 10, the GFS model spins up a lot of lows depending on which model you look at in terms of its ensemble members, but overall you can see that the model's very intent, just like the European, on developing a cyclone out near Vanuatu, and also some of the guidance is intent on developing a cyclone off the Kimberley or Pilbara coastline, at this stage well off the coastline. Now, if we head to day 11, we can see that general trend of the systems out here towards Vanuatu is moving in a westerly direction. The trend out here is moving in a southwesterly direction, parallel to the coastline, and still remains well off the coastline. So that's at day 11, and we'll go one more day. But remember, this is riddled with errors once we get out this far. But as we head to day 12, we can see that the GFS ensemble is developing a tropical cyclone well and and truly developing a tropical cyclone in that area. It's just a matter of where it goes to from here, because you see here on the GFS guidance out to day 12, we see a weakening in the ridge, so you don't have that really strong ridge anymore. So the chances are the system won't be pushing to the west with any rapid pace at that stage. So it could start to stall, or start to push a bit more poleward, or start to even push southeast. We're not quite sure. It's just too far out. And the other thing, we can see that most of the GFS guidance develops a tropical low out here off the Kimberley coastline by day 12. If it's not the same one that we've been looking at in the Euro, which is ex-Gillian, it could be a whole new system out here. So there are going to be certainly some areas to watch over that period. You can see here even the Access G model picking up a tropical low here off the coast of the Northern Territory, and the Access G model is not very accurate out to day 10, so if it's picking it up with its very low resolution, then there's a fairly decent chance that there's something going to be happening there, because this model is very low resolution, so therefore it's very unlikely, and also very unlikely to pick them up, and very likely to underestimate them. So so the fact that it's already picking up something there, that's always a good sign with the Access G. And also it's picking up something out here towards Fiji, and you can see whatever it is out towards Fiji is actually quite intense on the model guidance as well. So the next 4 days of rain, we might still see a few more showers along the central coast of Queensland and getting down towards the Hervey Bay coastline, but nothing major in that. And once again, remember that because Hadi's out here, we're not going to see all that really heavy rain that we should be seeing around that Cairns to Cooktown coastline, where we should be seeing that convergent flow, but we're not going to now because Hadi's disrupting it. So only fairly moderate falls of rain in that region expected over the next 4 days too. Remember that anywhere east of the track of Gillian, so if Gillian hits here, anywhere east of that along the Gulf Coast is going to see big rainfalls. So we're looking there at even possibly 300 or 400 millimetres in parts of the coastline to the east of where Gillian goes. And also the fact that Gillian's going to be pretty slow moving according to most of the guidance, except a couple of them, but most of them think that it's going to be pretty slow moving over the next 3 or 4 days. So we could be seeing a fairly widespread area of rain and continuous rain there hitting the Gulf Coast. Not extending inland, unfortunately, for those Queensland graziers that still need rain, not extending inland at all. The next 4 days after that, as that tropical low or ex-Gillian pushes to the west or even the northwest, we're going to see a overall decrease in rainfall in terms of the amounts, but an overall increase in terms of general rain over the West Peninsula, Gulf, and the Arnhem Land district over the NT, and also the tip of the Cape York Peninsula. We're going to see some isolated showers or tending scattered at times along the wet tropics coastline, but overall we see a big decrease in activity and weather over the Coral Sea as well. We do see some modelling suggesting that ex-Gillian will push directly west and be over the Joseph Bonaparte Gulf around that time, so that's why that accounts for this greenage here in terms of the rainfall amounts. So if more models come on board with that, you might actually start to see tinges of blue and purple in this area if more models start to expect the low or ex-Gillian to push out here to the west. At this stage, most of the model guidance suggesting Gillian will push up here towards the north and top end coast, and if that happens, we're going to see an increase in rainfall here in the post 7 day period. So folks, that's where we are at the moment, and then after that obviously we'll be watching for the new cyclone threats, one off WA, one well off Queensland, so we'll be watching for those to see if they happen. Thanks very much for watching. Tomorrow night we're only going to be talking Gillian. We'll just briefly mention where Hadi's going and briefly mention Lucy, so it'll be a very short update tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. Good night.